Good morning. Once again, I had the opportunity to talk to some of you last evening during dinner and discuss a little bit of my experience and how I thought that was impacted by CILE and especially Professor Brand and other colleagues. So I would like to focus a little bit more today on my career path rather than speak in general. So my career path has been quite unique. I wish I could tell you why it happened as it happened. Sometimes I feel like it was because it was meant to be, because I never really thought of being engaged in politics while I was in law school. In fact, there was a reason why I decided to study international commercial law when I came to Pittsburgh, and that was precisely because I didn't want to get involved in politics when going back home. But things turned out as they did, and I did end up in politics. I guess my advice would be for all of you who are still students, that everything starts while you are a student. It really starts here at the law school because it depends on the relations that you build among each other, especially if you're interested in international careers, but also with your professors. Because if it would happen as it happened in my case, your professor might end up becoming the president of your country. Because this is precisely what happened in Kosovo. It was because of the hard work that you show as a student and the interest that you show as a student that your professor will not forget, even after having thousands and thousands of students, as it happened in the case of Kosovo. The professor who became the president will remember you and will ask for you to become his legal advisor when he becomes president. In fact, in my case, it has not only been the people in Kosovo that have impacted me most. It was from the very beginning the people from Pittsburgh. I was only 19 years old when I met Mark and Professor Brand, who had come to Kosovo through a US State Department grant to help some of us, in fact, the students who would be interested to develop their international experience. I was recommended by some of my professors, and again, it is important that you impress your professors while you are a student from your first year, to meet Professor Brand and to meet Mark, and then, of course, it was important to impress them. So that I was selected to represent the University of Pristina, my university, in an international competition. Doing well there was a step towards me becoming a potential candidate for the LLM degree here at the University of Pittsburgh, which I completed in 2005. But right after I completed that degree, as I said, in the area of international commercial law, I was very interested in arbitration, on the UN Convention on Sale of Goods. My interest was to go back and teach to Kosovo, and I did. There was some sort of an informal agreement between the University of Pittsburgh and the University of Pristina that the people studying here would serve as a capacity building effort of the US government for Kosovo, which was a war-torn country and really needed lots of young people who had studied abroad to go back to the institutions and help build those institutions, because we had to build them from scratch. So when I went back, I thought that the capacity building has to start from the university, where the next generations are educated. So I went back to teach, but as I said, what happened was our president, who was then in power, had died, and we had a new one, who was one of my professors in Kosovo, who had offered me a job to become his legal advisor initially. How did I come from his legal advisor to his senior legal advisor to his first advisor, advisor on foreign affairs, and then finally chief of staff? Hard work. I know you hear that quite a lot. In politics, because although my job was professional, giving professional advice, you're in politics. The more hard work you do, the more people around you will hate you. They will try to fight you. I guess it happens in every other country, at least this is what colleagues from other countries tell me. They will try to stop you because there will be lots of people around you who will not do hard work but will try to get to the top through other methods. My advice is keep the hard work. Someone will notice you, and if you are lucky enough, the person who needs to notice it will notice it and will eventually promote you to where you really deserve to be through the hard work. While working in the president's office, I got to be part of the most historic processes that my country has gone through. It was the negotiations for Kosovo's final status for 2 years that I was involved in. The Declaration of Independence, actually working on the Declaration of Independence, being part of it. Writing the first ever constitution of Kosovo, of an independent Kosovo. And then defending my country's independence in front of the International Court of Justice. Working on the recognition process, which is quite an international work because you have to travel all along the world, work one-on-one with the highest officials of countries in all continents that have not yet recognized your country's independence and convince them to do so. Talk on behalf of your people about your people's struggle for independence, and try to know the history of each and every country in the world, because you cannot have the same talk with every president or with every foreign minister. It has to be shaped or tailored based on their interests as well, and based on their history as well. And then work on membership for my country to international organizations, which again, every single one is different, but you will need your lawyering skills in order to convince countries to recognize you, because you convince them that there's a legal basis for it. Finally, after all of this experience, after working with the president for 5 years, I decided to run for office, so become an actual politician myself. It was a very hard decision because, again, I was still thinking, do I really need to be deep into politics? But then going around your country and seeing all of the challenges that your people are facing, you truly understand that you can make a difference no matter how small it is. At least you can try. And this is what I thought I could do by running to become a member of the parliament, the only place at that time which was the place where politicians are directly elected by the people. Currently, I'm serving my second mandate and mostly involved in issues of rule of law and foreign policy, but also doing quite a lot of social inclusion stuff, which means, in my case, helping women and young girls in their access to justice. Because of that work, I was awarded by UNDP as a social inclusion champion, because I think no matter what your interest is, if you're living in a country where lots of people are still facing daily needs and lots of challenges, you should not leave the social inclusion part aside. The third part of my career deals with teaching. Despite of being involved in politics, I continued teaching all along. I think it is one profession where you can really see that you're making a difference in people's lives, especially if you're working with students that have never had an experience. You help them get funds, you help them go beyond Kosovo, you help them participate in international competitions, and you help them understand the one thing that is the same, that is the truth for every part of the world. And again, if you work hard, you'll be the same as those people from the US, and China and Russia and everywhere. It doesn't matter where you come from. If you work hard, you're going to be equal. So that's all for me for the moment, and I'll welcome your questions.